Hi guys, it's Alyssa from Alyssa's Bake Shop. Today I'm going to show you how to make a black Lambeth cake.
Today I'm going to use 4 different piping tips and only 2 bags of frosting. So for this first bag, I'm just going to cut a big enough hole so that we can put in our large open star tip. Then for the other bag, I'm going to be using a coupler. So to put on a coupler, what you're going to do is you're going to put this plastic piece into your piping bag, and then you're going to want to cut the tip about where the plastic piece starts to have this groove in it. And then you can stick on your piping tips, and then you can just screw it on. When you want to go to switch out tips, all you have to do is just unscrew it and then add on the new tip. I'm also going to be using this black frosting to make our black Lambeth cake. I have a link to the video I'll put in the right hand corner, or you can find it below, and it's how to make black frosting that does not stain your teeth. Since I was using some black Swiss meringue buttercream, I wanted the cake to really go with it, especially because the frosting was flavored with our black cocoa powder, and I talk about that more in the other video. So I decided to make a black velvet cake, which also has that cocoa powder, and I made a black cherry filling. I kind of put the first layer backwards because I put the filling before the ring of frosting. So I'll show you right now the correct way, which is to put your buttercream ring first and then to add the filling in after. It's not that there's really a right or wrong way, but this is going to help if your filling is not as thick, and so it just keeps it from going everywhere. The best way to ice a cake, in my opinion, is to start by putting the frosting on top to smooth it out, and then bring that extra frosting down the sides. Then go in and add more frosting to the sides. I'm using an offset spatula to just spread the icing, and that's really what it's for. It's great for spreading frosting and icing over lots of things, not just cake. The difference between an offset spatula and a straight one is that because it is sort of bent a little bit, it just protects your hand from going right into the icing. To get that really smooth sides of the cake, I like to take my hand and put it around and hold the turntable almost as if I'm like hugging the cake. This just allows me to get in one full turn by using my scraper. And actually, this is not a cake scraper. This is actually a bench scraper made for like sticky dough and things like that. But hey, a tool is a tool, and I find that this is the perfect height for my cake. So I really like it because I also like the handle that it has. Then one of the best parts is when you go to smooth off the top of the cake, or you can leave it if you're going for that rustic look. The first tip I'm going to be using is the Ateco number 22. This is an open star tip, and it's really good for piping shells, which is what we're going to do today. I'm also using the Ateco number 16, which is also an open star tip. It's just a smaller size. I've learned that when you film at night and you're filming black icing, it's a little bit difficult, so I had to up the contrast to the videos, so I'm sorry for any kind of weird lighting. I wanted to show you guys the difference between a pretty standard leaf tip and then the one I'm going to use today, which is the Ateco leaf tip number 70. That's the one I'm piping right now. So you can see how much bigger the ruffles are compared to a standard tip, and that's going to help our design. To start off, I'm angling the piping bag so it's at about a 90-degree angle, and I'm just going to slowly use an up and down motion with our leaf tip, and I'm going to slowly turn the table so that way it will come out nice and even. Now, I'm not saying to rush or go quickly, but I think when you're doing a design like this, it does help if you are doing it in one solid motion. After I made this cake, I realized that I'm really in love with the ruffled look, and I definitely need to use it more. We're going to be using tip number 22, and I'm piping it right on top of the last design. And one thing that I'm going to mention is the motion of your hand. You are pushing the icing up, and then you're dragging the piping tip down. Then I'm going to go in with the number 16 tip and do the same exact motion because it's the same tip, it's just smaller. We're going to go on to the top part of the cake. So I'm using a circle cookie cutter to just very lightly press into the cake. This is going to be the outline that we use to pipe on these banners. And to do that, I'm going to be using, again, the leaf tip. And this is just going to be a kind of a different motion. This took me a few times to get it down because you're starting with the leaf tip pointed up, and then as you go, the leaf tip sort of changes angles and it starts to point down. And then while it's doing that, you're also turning the cake at the same time. To make these filigrees, I'm going to use the number 16 tip, and I'm going to do the same motion of pushing the icing out and then pulling it back down. We do this motion a lot because we're using the shell tip, and that's just what you need to do in order to get that nice defined shape. For the top of the cake, I decided to use that leaf tip again, and I'm just going to pipe this all around the border of the cake. And finally, I added some metallic sugar pearls just to those little details to give it a nice added shine. And then for the last tip, I'm using the celebrated 8B tip or the Adico 868 tip. It's very similar. It's an open star tip. I really like using the open star tip because it's a little bit more edgy in my opinion. It's just a little bit more sharp because there's a lot more prongs, so we have this extra detail. I'm using some edible black glitter, and I'm going to be using maraschino cherries just to add some cute little details on the top. When you dip the cherry into the glitter will instantly start to have this very wet look. I recommend to dry off the cherries on a paper towel before you dip them in the glitter. That way they'll stay nice and pretty when they're on the cake. The red stems and the black cake and this wild blue colored wall I have in the background is an interesting contrast, but it wasn't really quite what I was going for. So I just took some of my food scissors and I just cut off the stems, and I wanted to cut into the cake just to show you guys how it looks inside. I hope that you guys like this video, and I'll see you next time.